Hey, Shalom Akim, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Barakatam, Bashem Kalkadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostle of Remy Stone Rule Well, to Reminisha, DC Camp, short lesson for the hopeful elect. Yeah, when you just came back to me, it's how Spirit of the Lord works. Some things you like to tackle and then you remember at a later time, you know. This lesson just tells you that, hey, this is a so-called peace agreement that they want to work out. It's not gonna hold any weight, man, because the Lord has to fracture that so-called uh, so-called peace that they've been trying to establish. It's not going to hold any. It's not going to hold any weight. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to read a scripture real quick. It's going to be from 1 Thessalonians 5:3. It says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." Yeah, so that's the chaos that we're looking forward to happening, man. It's gonna be a painful time upon the face of the earth because the Lord has to shake the kingdoms of this world. He has to go on a demolition operation. All right, demolition campaign. So when Trump was mentioning that, oh well, if Iran does not comply, you will have to wipe them off the face of the earth. All that stuff, and that just brought to me the quote from uh, from Oppenheimer. It says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." So when Trump is talking about, man, it's sad, that such a civilization just have to go, blah 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, well, that's why you're there, man. You have to bring chaos upon the earth. Even the so-called Abramovich lady, man. What's her name, man? Is it Maria? I can't remember her name. Talking about the magician. Yeah, someone has to cause diversion and all that stuff, to give all these folks in the background to work on their crafts. So that's just how it is, man. Diversion, diversion. A lot of folks are falling for it hook, line, and sinker because the plan of the elites is to extend their power, to the end. So that quote, from Oppenheimer came from the Bhagavad Gita, all right, about the Vishnu. Yeah, wants to have a discourse. So that's just what these folks at the top read, man. They're familiar with all those quotes. They're not just dummies, man. They read, man. Imagine the type of grooming they have to have gone through from early childhood before they could hand them the keys to the kingdom. So yeah, they read a lot. They read reports. They're not your regular dummies that you see on the screen. If you call them this morning, they'll tell you what's going on with their so-called businesses, man, because they get those summaries. They get daily summaries, weekly summaries, monthly summaries. You know, they know how to engineer events to fit their uh, their agenda. So I'll play the clip and then you get some more precepts.
There are reports that they are still burning thousands of protesters alive. They also issued an assassination threat against you over the weekend. I know that you can't talk about what's on the table, but what is your response to Iran's leadership in the regime continuing to taunt you, threaten you, especially given over the weekend you said it's time for new leadership in Iran?
Well, they shouldn't be doing it, but I've left notification. Anything ever happens, we're going to blow the whole country is going to get blown up.
So what is he saying? If anything, anything that's happened, so it's also factoring his own assassination and all that stuff. So you just have to remember, man. These nuclear missiles, man, they have to be used. Even when Oppenheimer was expressing, you know, some what you call it, some reservations about what he has opened. Yeah, the Mossad made that happen. So let me get a quick precept. It's going to be from the book of Isaiah chapter 54 and 16. It says, "Behold, I have created a smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy." Yeah, so that nuclear missile is gonna get the job done. That the Most High has ordained to happen, man. So it's gonna be painful, man. For a lot of people upon the earth, man. It's gonna be painful. So that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. Isaiah chapter 66 and 16 tells you, "For by fire and by his sword will the Lord, how Bashim Ashai, Bashim Hakadash, plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many." Alright? So these nuclear missiles are gonna destroy so many, so many, so many people, man. Thousands and millions of people. Even billions. Yeah, even billions of people. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. You know, it's gonna be painful for them. Yeah, it's gonna be painful for them. Yeah, so yeah, it's gonna be painful. For those that the Most High zeroes in upon for destruction. Yeah, so that's just how it is. It's gonna be chaos. It's gonna be chaos. So what we're gonna see is more destruction. So when Oppenheimer and his whole team, and when they push for the development of the atomic bomb, that's what happens. Your mind, your mind begins to experience a shift. You're no longer who you used to be because you've been exposed to knowledge that is far beyond your reach. The knowledge that the Lord has given, yeah, it doesn't allow you to stay at the same level anymore. Now you know things that you never knew before. You've been granted access to uh, to the hidden things of the Lord, to the ancient knowledge that came before time. You know, yeah. So it's gonna be painful, man, and that's one thing that they've been harping on, man. They don't want no uranium enrichment anymore, man. In Iran, they're trying to secure the nuclear supply, the nuclear stash. They have to go and get it and all that stuff. And that's also another thing that's also happening in Africa, man. France wants to have those countries with uranium supplies on lockdown. So that's one thing that Esau has been embarking on, man. He wants to be the sole nuclear power upon the face of the earth. So when these other nations begin to have that type of reach, he begins to feel as if his chessboard is not favoring his moves that he wants to put in place, man. So now he has to shake things up to put things where he can have the upper hand. So, end of the day, man, destruction, destruction, destruction. That's exactly what's gonna happen.
We've, originally Biden should have said something. When they made a statement, we always said, "Why isn't Biden saying anything?" Because he didn't. But a president has to defend a president. Like if I were here and they were making that threat to somebody, even not even a president, but somebody, like they did with me, I would absolutely hit them so hard. But I have very firm instructions. Anything happens, they're going to wipe them off the face of this earth.
Yeah, so that's what he wants, man. You know.
Wipe them off the face of this earth.
Yep. So that's what they can have, in their mind to accomplish. Even when you watch the Planet of the Apes, you saw the scene where those folks were dressed like some priestly apparel, and they had the missile. So that's what happens, man. That's what happens. So you just have to be aware of the chaos that's coming upon the face of the earth. So when you read one more precept, it's going to be from the book of Revelation, chapter 7, verse 7. Actually, no, but actually, it's the first 1 to 3. All right. I wasn't trying to get too excited. Yeah. Yeah, just bear with me. Yeah, Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. Yeah, sometimes spirit moves. Revelation chapter 7, verse 7. Well, the spirit always moves. Alright, so Revelation chapter 7, verse 1. And after these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel as ascending from the east, having the seal of the living power, and cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our living power in their foreheads. So before those nuclear missiles hit that mark, you're gonna know that the elect have been sealed. You know, so we're just gonna have to pray. You know that we are among the number. The men that preach the gospel of the Lord Amashak Yahushai in sincerity and in truth, with diligence of mind in these last days. So that's what we're hoping for, man. That we're sealed. That we're covered by the blood of Lord Hamashach Yahushai in these last days, and that we'll be delivered. Shalom.